Hello everyone, it's Miss Parker here, and today I thought I'd give you some ranked Renata gameplay and be talking about my thought process while going through the game. I did record audio while playing the game, but I guess it didn't quite get captured, so, at least we got the music. So in this game, I'll be discussing my thoughts, why I choose to do the things I do. And obviously, I am no pro player. I am in Gold 2 currently, but I have played Renata only up until this point in ranked season. So hopefully that speaks for something. Now in this game, I am debating on which support item I'm going to go, and I decided to go with Relic Shield because I am going to be getting outpoked. I do not want to be trading with SWAIN. SWAIN totally outtrades Renata, especially if he goes Electrocute. And it looks like, it's going to be a rough game for me because Neela is like pretty much a counter for Renata entirely. If she gets behind you, you can't ult behind you to very easily. Your goal is to hit as many people as you can with your ultimate. And if she's behind you, that makes it really hard. And then her, her Aurora shield, I believe it's her W, blocks auto attacks, if you remember correctly. But this also blocks the auto attacks of her allies while they're berserked and attacking her. So she is a very strong counter for Renata. So you just have to be patient, wait for her ability to be down, and then you can go from there. So already I'm a bit nervous, and I'm thinking for this item, my mythic item this game, probably going to go Locket. I normally for SWAIN, I'd want to go Cerulean so we could get out of his R, but there's an Echo on the enemy team, and I just want to be able to properly defend my carry. Pantheon and Vi as well. Yeah, Vi is terrible to try to protect your ADC from. So Locket's probably the way to go for that. We were looking at a pretty slow, laning phase. I don't necessarily want to fight because I don't necessarily win. So just playing a little bit safer. I'm really glad I went Relic Shield because that's such an optimal way to make money without having to risk stepping up too far and getting grabbed by this Swain. And you'll see through his gameplay, he's obviously not like a great Swain per se. But you'll definitely go against good Swains, and I think there's still a lot you can do that can be applicable to when you play against a better Swain. One thing you will notice is I do have a locked camera. And I've played since the start with locked camera. I'm aware that's something I need to grow out of. Hopefully, as I continue playing, I can get better with the camera. But it does mean that I use my map a bit more, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. As you saw, we did take a little bit of a trade and heavily won it. The Vayne went in after SWAIN had grabbed, so we were in the clear to do that. Here, Vayne pinks she does want to go in, so we do a little bit of damage there. He does survive the ignite, though, on just a sliver of health, which is unfortunate. It did really look like he was going to die there, but we do see that Vi's there anyway, and we're good. Like, I still have my Q up, and I've got biscuits. I've been really enjoying biscuits on Renata recently. Her spells have such a high cost and such a high cooldown. So I've definitely been enjoying running biscuits on her for just a little bit more of a smoother laning phase. Now, for some reason, the Swain didn't back, but I do believe he used his flash already. So we can look for getting a kill, but we have to be careful because there's a good chance the Vayne is still hanging out. Or not Vayne, Vi is still hanging out. And it looks like she died anyway, so worked that. So Renata is such a fun support champion. I like how much flexibility her Q has in her kit. Not only is it a great engage, but it's a fantastic disengage as well, as you saw. And it's just great. It is good to try not to spam it, obviously, and you'll always miss it sometimes. It's kind of an awkward ability to try to hit, but when you do, it is very rewarding. So as you can see, I'm trying to communicate with my ADC, especially I have to do this in lower elo, like pinging when your stuff is up, like, hey, I don't have a ward, by the way, so I can't be warding the river here, you know, that kind of thing. Here we see that SWAIN's backed, so I'm trying to pressure the Neela off of the wave entirely. And I have another biscuit as well. We're watching the mid lane. Thankfully, that Echo didn't really roam too much early, so we were pretty secure. But we were able to kind of keep Neela off that wave for a bit while SWAIN was walking back. Positive thing is that even if SWAIN did land a grab there, Neela was pretty far back and probably couldn't have tried to engage on us. I could have tried flashing and queuing there, but it was a good thing I didn't since Vi was there waiting for us, so I do communicate I'm low on mana here. I don't have any more biscuits. I've used them all. I do get killed, unfortunately. I had no mana for that fight, but we did get a kill. Got 2 kills, actually. And Vayne gets a kill on Vi. I'm pretty sure Vayne, I mean, Vi could have killed her there, but I guess she didn't. So it wasn't too bad of an exchange. I end up getting my Aegis, and we can move on from there. Also, Neela didn't get any kills, so it was worth for us. Vayne got 2. That was a bit risky, though. I mean, we knew where Echo was, and I mean, obviously Vi was there. If I wasn't low on mana, I think that would have been a lot smoother of a, you know, trade, but that's only so much you can do, right? Gotta do some goofy stuff sometimes. Some good things to already be looking at. We do see that SWAIN does have a commencing stopwatch coming up. So we want to keep that in mind for when he does engage with his R, which we can assume he will do. Yeah, there's a lot to be thinking of. But I think it's definitely possible for people to climb with Renata. And I mean, a lot of people worry that she's very enemy team dependent, like what champions they have selected. You know, if they're a bunch of auto attackers or not. Obviously, even in this matchup, where they don't have very many auto attackers. I mean, SWAIN's a mage, right? I guess Vi does, but you know, even if the enemy team is just a bunch of mages, Renata can still be useful, and I don't want you to pin yourself into the idea that she can't be. I think unless you're like in higher elo, I don't think it will affect you as much if she is, you know, in a great scenario for her R, if that makes sense. So I think play who you want, and if you're good enough, you know, if you've got enough experience with that champion, you'll be okay, right? I definitely could have slammed the SWAIN back into the Neela, but see, we're waiting for her. Her auto attack shield is down, so now we can land our ultimate. W on Vayne. And we probably could kill her there, but Vayne's pretty low on health, so we're going to back off. And I did use my Ignite already on SWAIN. But that's a perfect example of just being patient and waiting for the abilities to go down. It's the same thing with Samira Windwall, same thing with Yasuo Windwall. You just have to wait it out, and then you'll be able to land it and win the fight. That SWAIN was very aggro there. I think if he did land that E when he flashed, that could have really made a difference in that. But I think it wasn't a bad call for him to give that a try, honestly. So I just helped my jungler there get the Scuttle for vision. Drag is up, so we want to be able to try to force that. We do see that SWAIN is warding our jungle. Can't really sweep it yet, so we're just going to be careful and wait out until I can back and get a control. I do want to mention that the range is pretty awkward with against SWAIN. I believe his auto attack range is the same as Renata's, and his E range is a bit longer, or is just as long as Renata's Q range. And his goes through minions, so you're always gonna lose that. So just you know, be aware of that. It's not her strongest matchup, and you know, her R probably has the least effect on him when it comes to other supports. So just keep in mind, it's not like a completely losable matchup, but it's definitely one you have to play carefully around. So we've got our support item completed, so we immediately get our scanner. I don't have quite enough for a control ward, but if you do, obviously, get that control ward. Thankfully, I am... I'm duoed with the jungle this game, and they've been really pretty consistent with making sure to get the objectives and stuff, so that's great. So now we're going and warding. I really do want to sweep our jungle, but our the sweeper is on cooldown, so we gotta wait for that. And for some reason, Neela roams up to mid. She doesn't get anything out of it, thankfully, but it was a really weird roam. Thankfully, my ADC was pretty on top of the pings for that, so our Zed could play a little bit farther back. I do really like going Relic Shield when I can. It is a bit difficult with certain ADCs, though. I'd say Kaisa is really hard. Her Q just, like, kills the whole wave. Tristana's difficult. There's a couple champions like that where it is, even though it would be ideal for me to go Relic, I just can't because I'm not going to make any money off of it. And that's always frustrating, but, you know, there's only so much you can do. Sweeper's up, so I'm going to sweep the river. It is pretty difficult because I don't want to get caught out. Thankfully, he's not spamming his grab. There it is. Now, we did see the Neela auto attack thing come early. She used it. So we can pretty confidently R there. I don't necessarily have to flash away, but it is good to reposition in. Unfortunately, my Vayne fails her Q there, so she does die in the SWAIN eye, and I do die as well to that. If she had lived, I think we would have been fine. But unfortunately, she couldn't Q properly out of the way. But I'd rather the kills go on SWAIN than on Neela. So, it's whatever. And I do finish my locket, so it'll be easier later on. I do typically like going Merc Treads. I definitely want in this game with the Pantheon stun, Echo stun, the SWAIN grab. There's a lot of good stuff that the Merc Treads will be good for. So I definitely think we could have played that fight bot better. I'm not sure what went quite wrong. Like, we killed Neela pretty early on. I think it was just like a misplay around the SWAIN. Fortunately, we did lose the Drake there, but it's an early Drake, so it's not too big of a deal. So there I slammed SWAIN against the rock to stun him. I know people know that you can do that with like against other champions, but you can also do that against terrain. Unfortunately, Vayne gets into melee range of the Neela, which is not good for us. But I do get out here, thankfully. If you don't realize, Renata W does give you movement speed towards enemies. That includes enemy minions, so you can run out of there. But yeah, the Vayne got way too close to Neela for that, and she had ultimate up, and I did not have my ultimate up at that time. But even if I did, you know, like, it'd just make her auto Vayne faster, so I'm not sure if it would necessarily be a good task. And you always get people pinging like, "Well, why didn't you ultimate there?" But trust your own judgment. Like, you know the champion probably better than they do, so there's no no harm in it, right? Like, my R wasn't up anyway, but even if it was, I don't know if Ring there would have necessarily been the right play. I don't think we would have lived anyway, so don't take it personally. And I mean, you'll always get like pinged in low elo anyway. I mean, for example, I've had times where I'm with my UDC and we're going against a fed Kale. It's 1v2 and my ultimate's up, but do I want to ult the fed Kale and give her 100% attack speed on top of what she already has? And it's just against me and my ADC. No, she's gonna shred us even faster. But people don't understand that that, you know, the Berserk champions will focus, you know, first ally champions of theirs, and then they will focus their own minions, and then awards, and then, you know, it goes down the list from there. There was kind of awkward. I did ignite Neela there, and she ulted, but she got kind of condemned away, I guess, by Vayne, so she couldn't engage. We're having a sense that Vi could be hanging out here. We do see them hanging out. Somebody going into the bush there, so. So I grant Vi. I give Vayne W pretty early on for the bonus attack speed and attack damage. I die, but they do. Or do they win this? No, because Pantheon ulted down or teleported. But we did kill both of the enemy laners there. Unfortunately, we did get ganked by both Echo and Pantheon, so that was really unfortunate. But I think overall, it was, you know, played for as well as we could. And I know you see I do flash to adjust my R pretty frequently. I think flash is a huge, like a very crucial part to Renata's like kit. Being able to figure out like where you need to be so you can hit the most people for your ultimate is a good play. You can also be aggressive with it and, you know, ult flash forward to, you know, guarantee hitting them. Whatever, you know, works depending on the situation. I did secure the cannon, very important. Unfortunately, I cannot defend this turret very well. I think I recall what happened here. I think Zed was supposed to rotate down because Vayne had gone mid, but it was a little awkward, so we just lost turret for no reason. All right. Our Lilia just walks up, casually steals dragon. That's cool. I do just get close enough to W her, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. Yeah, unfortunately, we do die there. We get one kill from the Zed, but that was a really badly positioned fight. At this point, it's not looking too good for us. Of course, you know, the more fed the enemy team is, the better for Renata because they'll do more damage to each other later on. And I am very glad that I did end up going a tankier build right off the bat. So you do see I go for Oblivion Orb here. I'm going to go my Chemtech Purifier or Thornmail. I do go between those two depending on the comp. I do typically prefer a tanky Renata build over not. So you'll tend to see that. It just fits my playstyle more. I don't like having to play afraid, basically. I want to be in the fight with my ADC and be close so I can W them. And I'm very important, so I want to live as long as possible. So I like to go, you know, a tanky build for that reason. We're just hanging out in the river, two bros. He really wanted our ward there for some reason. Use the locket. Fortunately, it does look like I'm gonna die there. Yeah, but both of my teammates got out. It was a lot of ults for just a support that has no kills. So in the end, I think that's pretty worth. Our our Heimerdinger somehow, you know, goes in there and shuts down the Nila, so that's pretty cool. But because they wasted so much on me, they're losing this fight, which is excellent for us. I think my team needed this, the shutdowns, not only for mental reset, but, you know, money as well. So our Lilia's spending some time bot, fighting the Vi. Somehow does end up getting the kill. And I think she does die to the SWAIN here, but because she's down there distracting them, we do very easily get this Baron. So it was a really great call. Yeah, it was a great, it was a good idea to go the anti-heal pretty early on for sure with SWAIN. Neela heals a lot as well. So So it was a good idea. I will admit I was pretty worried in queue for this since we didn't really have a tanky top laner compared to them. But thankfully he ended up going lethality, not really a tanky build, so it wasn't too big of a deal. So I'm gonna go ahead and hang out mid for now and just kind of scope what we want to do. I know this tends to be the low elo thing, like, oh, let's ARAM mid, but if we can make picks, you know. And as you can see, him leaping forward did go over my Q, and that's one thing I've noticed differently with like Milio's Q, for example. He can knock back, I think, every engage, unless they're unstoppable. So that's crazy, but yeah, it's not quite the same for Renata Q. You can stop things like Rakan W in, but you cannot stop people from blinking. There's a couple weird in between things for that. So I W Vayne there pretty early on. I don't expect her to die 1v1 or 1v4 against Pantheon. So I do W her early so we can get that kill. I also have Locket, so I'm pretty confident she won't die and I won't have to save her with it. I do want to mention that with Renata, you do have to play like a businesswoman, right? You have to decide what you want to put your money on. So if it came down to a fight, like, oh, do I want to put it on, Lilia, or do I want to give it to Vayne? Those are the kind of decisions you have to make. Of course, it depends on like the situations specifically. But if I had to choose between Zed or my Vayne, obviously I'd probably choose Vayne. But Lily is pretty strong as well. So there's a lot of things to consider, and you'll always get people like mad at you that you didn't save them. But you're in charge of this skill, and you've got to use it the way you think. I think the last person I ever W is myself, because most of the time I probably won't get the kill reset, and it's not worth the using that. Unless it buys time. Even then, So late game, I'm kind of, our Baron buff died out. I was rotating to help Zed there, but I'm not sure why he's fighting Echo when Echo's so far ahead. Maybe he got cocky after all the team fights. He thought maybe he could win. But, be walking around, gaining vision. We can probably expect them to be in our jungle more frequently, so warding around the red buff and things like that is always good. And at this point, I probably will play around the carry, whether that's with Vayne or with Lilia. And that'll help win the game. And it helps Heimerdinger split pushing, so I can pretty easily figure out who I want to funnel there. So we waited till the Neela cooldown. It was down. So Neela went down as well. Didn't even have to lock it there. Vayne's totally fine. Shield over the wall for a nice assist. I remember feeling really confused about that because he totally could have killed me before he R'd back, but I guess he got scared too. And it was unfortunate I had a flash there since it's so important to Renata's kit, but whatever. I have tried some like different items with Renata's ultimate, you know, for repositioning. Unfortunately, it's not something you can like cancel the animation of or anything. Like I tried Gale Force. I did try Proto Belt as well, but unfortunately, those are things that you have to like. You can't like animation cancel like when you flash, basically. So it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, my Heimerdinger got caught out there in the river. I'm not sure what he was thinking. If he saw like us backing, but they did use abilities and spells for that, so we can get a lot out of that. Zed's fighting over there as well. Gotta stay close to Vayne. I did use my W there in case Echo decided he wanted to keep fighting that, but he didn't, and ulted back, so... always, like, don't hesitate to show your W cooldown. Like, either... Oftentimes they don't understand how long the cooldown is or anything. But thankfully we're so ahead at this point that I can pretty confidently just W for aggression. I do miss my Q there, which is always feels bad. But he was condemned against the wall, so... we were very lucky this game. I think, like, Gold's been one of the more difficult elos, for sure. It's just, like, so team dependent, especially if you're playing support. Like, you can, you know... And I'd say normally I do pretty consistently okay on my support. But it's not always the case, right? But normally, like, I'm pretty consistent on Renata. And if we lose games, it's usually not because of a misplay that I did. It's usually because of, like, another lane that feeds. And, like, we all have really bad games, right? It's just how it is. But it is frustrating as a support that there's not much you can do about it. You know, it's just kind of, Fortunately, I couldn't save Lilia there. I don't have Locket for Echo. I think I think I was saying at the other end my my KDA. But yeah, you know, every game's different. It's not all like a cookie cut kind of thing. This was just one good game out of, you know, hundreds of bad ones. But we can say that we did, you know, land a couple good ults. We did save our teammates a couple times. Got an E minus. Always take that. And I believe I was gonna take a look to show that I have only played Renata as well. Yeah. Yeah, so as you can see, I've got a 50% win rate on Renata, which isn't very high. And hopefully, you know, with more experience, I can bring that up. But I think it's definitely possible for you to do. If you really enjoy the champion, I think you should play her. Play her as much as you can, wherever you can. Have fun with the game, because the game sucks. 'Cause people are mean. But, you know, if you can have fun playing this one champion, then that's all that matters, right? So, good luck to all of you in your games. I'm going to be releasing, I believe it's, what is it? Movifier. I think Movifier. Build page along with all my thoughts, different matchups. I talk about pretty much every champion and what does and doesn't do well with Renata. So look forward to that. Hopefully this provides some insight in the laning, and I'll be out here to provide more information for all of you. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all next time. Bye, everyone.